Chief, are we live? Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting the City of Castle Hills Crime Control and Prevention District Board meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. The time is 6:03 p.m. First items to call to order and determine if we have a quorum present. We do have a quorum present. Second item on the agenda are citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments? We don't have any citizens in the room. Do we have any citizens online? Okay. Okay. I assume we don't have a way to make any comments from that. And I think the protocol is I don't think we have that. Okay, great. Thank you for checking that. Okay, so we have no citizen comments at this point in time. Move on to agenda item number 3. Agenda item 3 is the consent agenda. We have the consent agenda from June 28th of 2022. Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, okay. Member Hurst has motioned to approve. Okay. Vice President Martin has seconded the motion. I'd like to make one revision to this agenda in that board member Evans was not present at that meeting. With that amendment to this excuse me here. With that amendment to this minutes, I'd like to take a vote. All in favor? Okay, passes unanimously. Agenda item number 4 is new business. Discussion on the proposed agenda fiscal year 2023. Chief?
Board members, thank you for being here tonight. I apologize for not being present the last meeting. Of course, we all know where I was at. Real briefly, I just wanted to go over the expenditures for the third quarter. If you recall in the email that I sent you, we've only had one expenditure for this quarter, and that was for our sent to Vistacom. And what that is our voice recorder or the radio recorder. We keep track of every incoming or every transmission that that goes over the radio. And so that's a maintenance agreement. I know it's kind of high, but that's relatively cheaper than a lot of the other agreements that we have with other companies and so forth. But that, like I said, that's the only one that I have for this quarter. I don't know if any questions on that, if y'all saw the emails.
Okay, does the board have any questions on this? We all will receive this. Okay, thank you on that. Let me back up here. I was a bit out of order. I was looking at the wrong agenda when I said that anyways. The first item is 4.1, and that's the present review, the 2022 third quarter report. I think you were commenting on that as well. And so is there anything else on this that we want to follow up on?
That is it. That, like I said, that's the only item of expenditure for this quarter.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Again, any questions by any of the members? Okay, let's go on. Then now let's do the discussion on the proposed budget fiscal year 2023. Chief?
So if do any of y'all have any of your copies with you or just the emails? We can make y'all copies real quick.
You're referring to this plus the backup?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it?
Do we need copies? You don't have one. Okay. How many do we need here?
At least 3.
None? You're good? Okay. Patsy, 1, 2. You need one? Okay. We need 2 copies, please. Thank you.
While we're waiting on the copies, I tried to, it's the same format that I used last year for the proposed budget. I remember earlier y'all had mentioned that like this form here, it's so tiny, you need a magnifying glass to try to see. I struggle with it myself. So what I did is I used that colored one to kind of break it down and removed a lot of those figures that, we really don't need it, for this. And just kind of simplify the whole presentation. And so I thought it worked out well last year. And so I thought I'd try it again this year. I see what you're saying, Mr. Squires. I'll try to make those improvements, to where you're asking as far as adding on some of those amounts and so forth. But again, I was waiting more for y'all as a board to decide what figures, basically I was going to be throwing in there.
If I may comment back, and the basis of that is trying to add some additional, a little bit of additional information to, this is not going to be able to see everybody, I understand that, but the front page that we're using, so we can get an idea of we'll call it the pre-2023 proposed budget that we're trying to put together with the chief before we get to the proposed budget for council.
So basically what would happen is tonight you kind of look at that, kind of see what you agree with, and then next meeting that we have, those figures would actually be in there where we'd have the meeting that's open to the public for public comment and so forth. And then you vote, yes, this is what we're going to adopt. So whatever figures you decide or look at tonight will be added on for the next meeting where you vote on.
Okay, Chief, can you go ahead and continue on let's go ahead and run down this 2023.
So in that color chart this is my proposal for 2023. I try to keep it as simple as possible. Last year, the board voted to increase that first item, that crisis fund. I was just advised by Nora that we can't change that line item, the name. It has to stay miscellaneous. We're actually going to have to change or create a new line item, correct? A new number? Unless you as the board decide just leave it miscellaneous and we still just use that same line item, correct, Nora?
Mhm.
Okay, so
For the auditor, correct? Okay.
So then we
Let me,
need to
just
approve
for clarification, if I may, I see on a 22 adopted budget, an amount of $1,000 on 5070, which is named the crisis fund on this. We're referring to this fund, am I correct? So in 2022, was it called crisis fund or was it called miscellaneous? Okay. So what we're going to do is you're going to have, I guess we're going to have a new account. Okay, the appropriate accounting code for it. Okay, so that amount for $1,000 that's in the 5070 will now move to a different accounting number, but it'll still be referred to as the crisis fund. Is that correct?
Well, yes, well, that's the it was miscellaneous. But that one was not, there was nothing accruing. It was just
So the miscellaneous number, which I'm seeing up here is as a 4060, is that right? Yeah, 4060, that's going to remain empty. Oh, it's revenue. Yes, sorry.
It's 5070.
5070. Okay, okay. And that will go back to what's called miscellaneous, and that'll have a zero in it for 2023, correct? Okay, okay. Any questions on that? There's no net change. It's just better classification, I guess. Okay.
So my proposal on that, like I said, for last year, the board decided to put $500 in there. I'm proposing that we do the same again this year, just to keep increasing that crisis fund. On the next line item, the future patrol cars. Last year, I had broken it down 5%, 10%, I think 15%, and those numbers were, or no, it's 10, 15, and 20%. And of course, you get into 15 and 20%, it just those numbers are going to be exponentially higher. The board decided at that time to go 10%, raising all those amounts by 10%. This year, I'm proposing the 5% to kind of stay in the median. So if you look at that future patrol vehicles, currently we have the line item is at budget at 66,000 for 2022. For 2023, my proposal is we increase it by 3,300, which is 5% of that, and it would climb up to 69.3. And conversely, that's the same thing all the way down, all of the blue line, the traffic vehicle purchase, the feature purchase, the gray one. That's all the same concept. And then if you go to the 10%, then it's the same thing. Moving down to 8121, which is between the red and the blue, purchase of video equipment. That last year the board decided to use that for WatchGuard body cams, the lease payments for that, the annual lease payments. I'm proposing that we increase that by $3,000 for 2023. I think that where are we at? 8121. So right now it's still showing that there's still a balance in there of 12,000, but I know that we've already made some payments this year on that one, Nora, so I guess that hasn't been updated yet. On the line item for the video equipment, 8121, it's still showing 12,000. And I know I've already, in the first and second quarter, I had already submitted some payments to WatchGuard or Motorola. What was the other one? And that's it. If you take the total of that 5% down there towards the bottom, it's 7947.50. And then you add the 3,000 and that 500, those other two amounts that are in that column to the left. My proposal for 2023 increase is $11,448. Versus 2022, the budget proposal at that time was $31,450. But again, that's because we all voted on increasing the amounts for future vehicle purchases and other future purchases.
Okay, Chief, thank you for sharing the budget again. Appreciate that, or for both of y'all for sharing the budget. Like I said, since you both participated. Let's start with any questions from the members up here. I think I went left to right, so let me go right to left this time. Any questions, Chance? No? Okay. Any questions at all?
Chief, what's the total budget amount?
So right now for 2022, we're it's the total budgeted amount for, no, that's beginning.
is that on this couple sheets here?
No, I'm looking at the long, the long
The-
confusing
the,
one that
the
it should be on
microphone?
there.
So my question is, it looks like we have an estimated budget collection of $275,000,
What is the
$275,000
budget for 2022?
for this year.
Which amount is it?
Are we estimating the same for next year?
No, but what's the total? That's 371. So Nora's saying that the budget, the adopted budget for 2022 is 371,950.
Okay, for 2022 is here, 371.
Right.
Okay,
The income is above that.
Yeah,
and
if,
then we've got this guy here.
That's your sales tax revenue.
So I'm gonna go over that one in a minute.
Okay. Okay, so does that look like we have a deficit of here?
On the sales tax?
Yeah. Or we're overspending what we've collected in sales tax?
On the sales tax, we're ahead. as
Oh,
far
we're
as
ahead.
collections, as
Okay.
far as collections.
Okay,
yeah, what I'm seeing, and I was reviewing this prior to the meeting, so your fiscal year, let me see here. That would be, the previous year was 331,303, if I'm reading this correctly, is that? And then it looks like we're on track, if we're tracking it month to month, of where our collections are gonna be, we're either on track or looks like a bit ahead on it, and so we should be in that same ballpark.
Are you on the tax pay, the sales tax collection?
Yes, the sales tax
So,
collection history.
so what I
correct.
did there is I took January through July,
Mhm.
came out, well, obviously you have the 203,943.
Yep.
And then I took August through December of last year
Mhm.
and factored those in there and came up with the 348,091 is a projected. Of course, that's plus or minus.
Right. One good point that would answer the question easily is just I know I keep asking for more stuff here, but to just put another line in the bottom and just put your totals down. So we do have like, for example, 2022 adopted, if we had that, another line in the bottom that said what was the total amount for the adopted budget for 2022, it'd be just a quick little way so we'd have that answer. Yes. Yeah, something very simple.
So I guess my question is, if we're estimating the annual budget to be at roughly 372,000, and we're estimating that our current budget collection is at 275,000, we've got a difference of about 120 grand in there. Do we have that money available in the accounts, or? what am I
Yeah,
looking at?
so understand that aside from, there's monies that are being allocated to these future purchases automatically
Okay.
through the year.
Okay, because we're setting it aside.
Right. And then so out of that, like the tax collection, then that's where you start looking at how much money you're going to ask for to increase, the budget. And so that's why, and for this year, I'm just proposing the 11, whatever it was, 11,000. Yeah, the 11,448. In contrast to last year was 31,000. But we're okay tentatively with the current tax collection.
Okay. Do we have other revenue besides the tax collection? We have sale of equipment, but it doesn't look like we've sold anything or we're not planning on selling anything.
No, the only thing that was sold this year was the that Explorer, the fire department.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, I guess my concern is how do we go from current estimated budget of 275 and an current actual estimated budget of 371,000?
Well, isn't the income, like, what, $359,000 on this, like the 2022 proposed budget with the sales tax and everything? This sheet, the more detailed sheet, shows 359,000. That's the appropriate one.
Nora?
adopted budget?
Yeah, I mean, rather than the other, the 200.
The adopted budget.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where's your?
I mean, we're saying we want to spend 371,000 as a part of it.
That's what we're operating on.
That's what we're operating on today. And then we're proposing a 5% increase on some of these items.
Only on certain line items, not across. the board.
Right. It would add another
11,448.
11,000 to it.
Well, 11,000 on plus the other line items that are already,
Right. Yeah. So, okay. But we're only estimating we can collect 275,000
where are you getting that figure from?
under current percent of budget collected on the sales tax collection history.
On your FY 22,
203,943.
up to June.
Okay.
25.
Okay.
And that's actually. Get these figures a month later.
A month late. Okay.
We're still, if you look at your recommendation on the current month, prior year month,
Mm-hmm.
we're above, I hope.
That's why I said, that's
Okay.
why I said projected is 348,091.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Okay.
The way I did it is 348,091.
Okay. Okay.
And so this is what is actually in the bank
Mm-hmm.
is not all there.
Okay.
Balance sheet.
Okay. 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 Good. So we're not concerned about that.
Well, and then to those line items, guessing, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
guessing
yeah,
are,
yeah.
we want to budget enough.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that.
Right.
Got to put a figure.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Rich, thank you. Appreciate that. Betsy, any questions? Okay. Tom, anything? Okay. I'm just going to tag off on you for a bit because I just want to make sure that we are comfortable with it. I mean, the way I'm looking at it without getting into the numbers is that we're running at a deficit. We're operating at a deficit. I think in part of that is the accruals for these new vehicles down the road. Is that a fair way to look at this? Right. So the reality is though, we are not at a deficit on a year-over-year basis. You're just trying to set up for down the road is what's happening. Is
That's
that
correct.
okay? Okay. I just don't know if there's an easy way to show that is the thing I'm trying to grasp on here, because I see that, I mean, I grasp around too. I want to make sure we're doing the right thing and we're not going to put. Mhm. Reconfirm, what's the fund balance currently?
As far as assets and.
1.1.
So 1.1 million currently, correct? 1.2 million. Okay. And what, okay, we'll take that penny nowadays.
I think once,
Mm-hmm.
budget
Mm-hmm.
out so much and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it as
Yeah.
Okay.
balance sheet shows. Yeah. Balance sheet here at the bottom left.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Right.
at the end of the year, that those monies aren't spent because we are collecting. Roll over to your fund balance,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not carried in your current year. Because you're just working on your current budget,
But that's what's confusing.
but that's not accounting.
Yeah, well, public accounting is even more confusing than private accounting, so.
Trust me, I go in there and we have this conversation over and over and over. There's got to be a simpler way.
No, it's, I want to say it's understandable, but
Yeah.
that's a stretch.
And the only reason I didn't go in there and feeling like that's what Nora was talking about earlier, we came in the office is, you know, filling in all those numbers, to me, I find it more confusing if I just highlight the numbers that I'm proposing.
Proposing to change.
Right.
And I see your point on that, and I like everything spelled out as best as we can possibly put it, but I do understand this maybe not appropriate. But I would like to see some totals across there because that would make it a bit easier if we can, so. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay, and that'll be at our next meeting, correct?
That's correct. That's what I said earlier is once you decide, okay, yeah, this is good, you know, then on the next meeting, you'll vote, you know, if everything still looks good, then you'll vote, yes, we're going to adopt this budget, or no, we need to,
Okay,
you know, but it'll have the,
okay,
but it'll have
Yeah,
it'll
the
have
meeting.
whatever figures y'all decide tonight. Do you want 5%? Do you want 10%? Do you want to propose $1,000 in the crisis fund? Whatever, you know, that way I have something to work with and I can plug it in for the next meeting and then you adopt.
okay. Let me make a comment on that. The way it is on the agenda, this is only a discussion on the proposed budget, so we can't vote on anything. I do believe our thoughts and expectations can be conveyed to the chief, and we're not stepping any out of bounds. And so I think he is looking for some direction in regards to, would we be more conservative with the 5%? Or do we want to make it 10% or below that, or 0%, or somewhere in between? I think that's the direction you're looking for at this point. Is that correct?
That is correct. Just to touch up a little bit, it was brought up the other night. It was introduced that, you know, if maybe we consider looking at electric cars in the future. I don't know how that'll work. You know, I think all we've seen is Teslas that
Mhm.
have been demoed out there. I know that there's several different vehicles on the market, but what they're able to carry, what's their price tag is obviously the bigger the vehicle, the more expensive they get. So again, I think that's more for the future. But right now, I think, you know, I think 5% in my opinion is decent. We do our homework when the time comes, which will be late next year, which is time to replace the marked units. We do our due diligence to try to locate the best price. Of course, obviously, we work with the buy board, you know, contract, so they're obviously going to give us the same price across the board that they give everybody else.
Mhm.
But prices are going up still.
No, yeah. So's interest. Mhm. Right. Let me just go ahead and stick my foot in this real quick here, okay? And so, and then I'd like input also from the board, but I believe the 5% is a conservative increase in regards to some of the accounting items that he's brought forward. Some are staying the same, and then there's a couple of them that have the $500 increase and the $3,000 increase in them as well. So I'm comfortable with what's being presented as long as we stay within our bounds of the revenue. And so basically that's what I would like to see at this point based on information I have. Please, the board members here, please comment on your thoughts as well too. We all need to give direction to the chief as a board here.
I mean, other than the vehicles, everything else, I think 5% would be plenty. The vehicles are gonna be your wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I concur. And I don't think we're looking at that in this particular budget though. Is that correct?
That's correct. That will present itself for the 2024.
Okay.
2024. But again, keep in mind that the money's going to be already allocated. So it's not, as long as the money's there, we can purchase those, move forward.
Okay. Rich, any?
I'm happy with what the chief wants. Mr. Kaufman, were you thinking 10% for the vehicles or what were you thinking?
I mean, what do y'all think?
Well,
You're the ones that are looking at these on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
like I said, I'm trying to be conservative and be fair across the board. You see that it over doubles from 10 to 5, from 10 to, or 5 to 10%. You have the 7947 at 5%. And then if you go to the 10%, it goes to 15,000.
'Cause,
That's
I
still not
mean,
including the 3,500.
because we can allocate the money and if it's not spent, it just goes back into the fund.
That's a good point.
That's
a good point.
Go the other direction. If we go to 5% and then we find that we need more. Can you edit this budget and?
Yeah, so what would happen if in the event we had to make an expenditure of some sort, then we would come back to y'all for a budget amendment. If the funds are, there, y'all do y'all vote and do a budget amendment.
Mhm. Okay. Tom, thoughts?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say, if there is a question about 5 or 10%, since we're looking at new cars next year, then maybe for the year after, maybe do 10% this year. And that way we have the buffer built in, and then if we need it for the following year, purchase, then we got it. If not, I'm good either way. So
Okay.
I don't think it's really that critical.
So one of the other things to really take into consideration, aside from the vehicle purchase, you also have the equipment that needs to go in there. Some of it, most of it is new, I think, in this fleet, but from time to time, something, just fries or whatever, we got to replace it. So there's those things, that the electronic components that, we have to look at replacing as well.
Mhm. Okay, so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and you've been through several purchase cycles anyway, so you know better than anybody, the needs and the proposed, the increases in prices. So whatever you're comfortable with, or whatever you feel like gives us enough wiggle room, I'm good with.
Okay. I think the chief mentioned, and please don't let me misquote you, but I believe the chief mentioned that he was comfortable with the 5% at this point in time.
Again, I'm being conservative. I would be really more comfortable with a 10.
Right?
Well, I'm looking at this going, okay, the radios, they're not gonna increase a whole lot. There's only one vendor you can get them from, or one manufacturer. You're probably tied in with the San Antonio contract.
Right. On
So-
average, I guess, fitting a vehicle, reusing a lot of the components, it's about between $6,000 to $8,000, depending on the vehicle. If it's a Chevy, they're a lot higher, as it's a bigger vehicle, versus the Explorer is usually a little lower.
It's just vehicle prices seem to keep jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping more than anything else.
That is correct.
Which we do have the ability to adjust next year
True.
when when we have a better handle on it, because I'm not wanting to buy a new car right now. I'm going to hold off until next year until we see this thing, because it's going to, supply demand. And once that supply's back again, it's going to have an impact. And so that's being trying to be positive in that regard.
Just-
Um,
Just keeping in mind though, I mean, looking at the tax collection report, I mean, it's been climbing, you know, over the last 5 years. It's
Right.
still been climbing and it's still going to be, it's projected to be higher again this
Next.
year.
mhm.
Of course, I could dive, but
The other thing, I mean, this is from a very, this is a warped way to think about it, and I apologize for saying it, but if we do hold the budget like this and there is an issue that comes back, it does give us the ability to address anything that may be outside of what we approve too. So it does, we can take a look at it as well too, with the chief and have multiple minds looking at any changes that may need to happen next year if we run across something or chief runs across something. And so if you like the control, it does give you that. And sorry, I just had to, I don't mean it like that, but I'm just trying to present all the sides anyway. So
so we're comfortable around 5%.
I think for sure that, yes, I believe so. There's probably some, you know, if we think something is, if we could predict the future, that would be wonderful at this point.
Okay, so that way I know how to plug the numbers in for the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Do any other items you want to, or any other discussion on that particular item we want to go over with the chief at this point?
And please, if there's any line items that, you know, you feel that I didn't address that maybe we should consider, I just, again, going back and looking at it, comparing it to last year's expenses, I didn't see the need to try to increase those when we're floating along pretty good.
Okay.
So,
I guess I do have one. Chief, police training, dispatch training.
yes, sir.
Is
What's
that,
the line item on that one?
line items are 9022 and 9023.
Okay, thank you.
Are those still enough with inflation and everything?
So yes, fortunately, we were able to tap into general budget for that. We have a line item for training for the PD. So in this case, we leave this one as a reserve.
Okay.
If we need to. I know last year, I think we went over budget. So I think we tapped into it. But this year, because of the lack of manpower, we've kind of slowed down a little bit on training, sending officers to training. But effective next year, that was one of the things I'm proposing on the general budget is to increase our training line item.
Okay.
Because we're going to get a little bit more aggressive with our training in light of everything's going on again. So hopefully we'll get close to full house towards the end of the year and concentrate on sending officers to training.
Okay. Well, that goes to my point of, given what we can do as CCPD in the budget, how can we help attract and keep your officers? So training, things like that.
Those are other topics that are really more on the general budget. I mean, they're being addressed and hopefully they'll be addressed in the next couple of meetings. It's basically, you know, there's several items that are going to be talked about and it's across the board though. We're not the only ones that are struggling. It's nationwide but we're doing everything we can. If you're not familiar, one of the things that we've done, me and the captain, we came up with an idea earlier this year to try to attract new applicants is offer a sign-on bonus, which hadn't been done here before. So we're offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus for certified officers and then $3,000 for certified dispatchers. And the only caveat to that is that they sign a 3-year agreement that they stay on with the city for 3 years. The other one is, after we did that, we talked about, well, now what do we need to do to keep our current officers and staff? So we brainstormed again and came up with offering a retention bonus and offered a $3,500 bonus across the board to everybody. We had 17 people sign up for that and they accepted it. So again, 3-year commitment to stay with the city. And we're still offering sign-on bonuses. That'll probably be shut down here in the next month or so because we're getting close to the end of the year. But we've had 3 people accept sign-on bonuses. We have 2, I'm sorry, yeah, 3 people accept a sign-on bonus, and we have 2 in the academy now that accepted a academy sponsorship.
Oh,
They can't get both. It's one or the other. So
Right.
we're paying for their academy as well.
Okay.
And that brings them on, they're on salary here at 50%. They're not getting full salary, obviously, because they're not certified. Once they graduate, they go up to the 100%, but they're already accruing benefits, holiday and all that.
Okay. Good.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've discussed agenda item number 4. Let's go ahead and move on to announcements. And discussion and possible action on scheduling the next meeting date. Chief, I know we have a few alternatives, I believe, that are available at this point.
So I did, I checked with City Hall to find out, and August is a bad month for trying to pick a date. The
Yes.
date that they gave me that was really tentatively available is the 24th. I've seen their schedule, and we've got a lot of special meetings and workshops for budget and so forth. So,
24th of August.
yes, sir. That's a Wednesday night, I believe.
Okay.
Chief, does that just, when is the budget due to be submitted to council?
Y'all would need to take vote on that or vote on that night after we open up for public hearing or, for public, we broadcast or publish it
Mhm.
for public 10 days before or budget hearing.
Okay,
But yes, that night y'all would have to vote on the budget, either accept it or deny it.
okay.
We'd move forward from there.
On that day. Something already that day.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Okay,
We're on
so we'll
schedule
still,
at this
we would
time.
be in compliance to make sure this is properly submitted.
Right, we're on schedule right now.
Okay, okay,
That is correct. Yeah, we do that. That's why I'm saying we publicize that for public hearing and citizens to be heard. and
Okay.
so on. Correct.
okay. All right, Chance, you had a question? Okay, Rich?
Oh, I thought you saw a conflict. Oh. Okay.
Again, I asked Ryan or city manager if there is any other available dates, and he says the whole month is, they've got a bunch of meetings.
Do we have any alternative dates besides the 24th that you could possibly, or is that it?
That was the only day he provided me.
Okay, well, it doesn't give us much options, it sounds like.
I told him what you had asked for, and I'm going by what dates they have available. I can't,
Okay,
Now, is this based on just having it on a Wednesday?
well, typically that's where we've had it. I think the last one y'all had was on a Tuesday,
Does it
barring
have to
there
be
was
on a
no
Wednesday?
board of adjustments or anything that are scheduled. And I think there is something scheduled that earlier that week.
on Monday, there's a BOA meeting on the
Okay.
29th, correction, the following week, there's a BOA meeting on the 29th.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, you're good. I guess that's a good question. If we're not married to Wednesdays only.
Right, but when I asked him, what are the dates available? Again, I don't have access to that calendar. We
Right.
have to schedule everything through them.
Right.
And that was the date that I said, how,
No, I want to try to accommodate the board to see if anybody can attend.
Well, if that's okay with everybody.
Right. Okay, no, and I guess, is that an appropriate date? I mean, I can make it happen if we need to.
Yep.
Who is it not appropriate for?
What, the 24th?
Yes,
Who do we
24th.
work for?
Yeah, there's a business association function that night.
Yes, there is. But this would take priority over that.
so what I can do, let me
So-
go in there tomorrow and ask him if there another day. Do you want it earlier or late? Well, it has to be, we got to think about the time frame as far as for the general
Right.
budget or general council. So we can only move back
Well, I'm okay with it. I mean, I will defer to this one versus the business association meeting. And that's fine.
Let me ask you this, what time is that meeting?
I think it starts at 5:30 or something or so, but it's irrelevant. It really is in comparison to what we're doing here. So.
If
If
you can accept the date for now, and then I will look again tomorrow. I'll check with,
Okay, all right. Okay, so do I have a motion for our next meeting for August the 24th at 6 PM? Okay, so we have a motion by Vice President Martin. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a second by Member Kaufman. Okay, all in favor of August 24th at 6 PM? Okay, Chance? Yay or nay? Nay. Oh, yay? Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, do I have any board member comments? Tom? No, sir. Okay, I'm out of comments too at this point. Patsy, any comments? No, okay.
No, sir.
Hey, Rich, Chance, any comments? Okay, good enough. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn from Member Evans and a second from Member Hurst. It is now 6:50 PM and we are adjourned. Thank you.